because we have a special guest, first ever guest that we are having on our show.
Age is just a number, Maria. People should not, women especially, should not focus on this number anymore. I was just a mother, I felt. Just a mother. Now what about all that I am capable of doing?
So if you're an 80s kid, you just might remember this.
Happy birthday girl. Pain nane. Eh, අර ඉන්න අක්ක කෙනෙක් වෙන්න සුජාතා වගේම.
This iconic ad was a really big deal at the time. Of course, our guest today, Priyanthi, and her mum were absolutely stunning in it. But more importantly, this might have been the first time women were invited to reimagine what aging and motherhood could look like. Priyanthi still continues to shine, be it in media, management, or motherhood. So, welcome to episode 3 with our first guest, Priyanthi De Silva.
Yes, so Priyanthi is the ultimate glam queen. She's amazing. Really, she has amazing energy, and she's well dressed all the time. And life has dealt her severe blows. You get to know her, you'll understand. And she is ever the encourager and an absolute role model. So yes, let's get to know Priyanthi.
Okay,
Thank you.
Priyanthi, thank you for joining us, and we would like to just have you introduce yourself to the audience first of all, like giving a bit of give an idea of the kind of work that you do now and how you kind of got there.
Okay, so my name is Priyanthi De Silva, and I've only had 3 jobs in my whole life because each one lasted a long time, and now I'm in my 3rd job. Each one was different to the other, but I think also there was one common thing about all 3, and that is that in every job I have done things like management, administration, that type of thing. But each company I worked for, they did something totally different. But I think that if you are interested enough, you will learn very fast. Otherwise, you will hate your job, and it'll just be such a chore, getting up every morning, dreading to go to work. I love what I do. I love my job. And I have loved both my previous jobs as well. And I was divorced when I was in my mid 30s. And then I didn't work for must be about 10 years because I concentrated on being a mother, full-time, hands-on, full-on mother. So yeah, it's I think my life has just had all these ups and downs, and even when Rochelle interviewed me a few years ago, I told her, when you ask people, do you have any regrets? The usual thing is, oh no, not at all. Everything is a learning experience. I never say that. Once that Frank sang about in his song My Way, but I do have lots of regrets, but I think as time goes by, you learn to accept them, cope with them, and go
So,
on.
if like I was to delve into, the first change that you made, like what inspired that first shift of, from one career to one kind of job to the next?
Now, first and foremost, I started working when I was 16. I started working for my father. I wasn't really interested at all in higher studies. I was never interested in studying anyway because I'm not one of those studying types. I can't, I'm not a classroom person. I can't do it. As much as I would have loved to do certain things, like one time I want to do a course in interior decor because I love to do that type of thing, and I do it at home. But then when I thought, my gosh, it's a long course, I knew I cannot sit in a classroom for that long and concentrate. So all I wanted was to work because all my life I wanted to be a career woman. I'm not one of those housewife types. I hate that word to begin with, because it just conjures up this image of, the typical Sri Lankan way of saying a real kusiyamma type thing. Unfortunately, I'm saying, unfortunately, that is what people here in Sri Lanka would associate a housewife, cooking from morning till night, doing the laundry, doing the sweeping, mopping, taking children to school. As although I have done all of it, I don't like that word housewife. I've always been a career minded person. So I was very lucky that my father's business was right there in my face. And my parents were really, really wonderful. They were never the types to put pressure and say, no, you must study, no, you have to do this, you have to have a degree. They never did that to me, never. They were more than happy when I wanted to work for my father. And he taught me everything from how to write an official letter, he would take me to the post office. As little children, we were taken to the post office, shown how to post letters, how to do a registered post letter. He taught how to write checks, how to do company taxes. Everything was taught by him.
Very
So
supportive.
although fantastic, best parents ever, ever. And I came to realize that I don't know why I bothered going to school, because everything I am today is because of my parents, not how. I don't know why they don't teach these things, because teaching mathematics and history, geography, physics, and chemistry is not going to get you anywhere in life in general, unless you are, of course, academically gifted and that's all you want to do. But real life is more than that. So, although I have the greatest love and respect for my teachers and, of course, my wonderful principal, Sister Thomas, who I loved, absolutely loved, I learned nothing in school. Nothing. I just don't know what I learned in school, nothing. So, I worked for my father for from 16 to about 23. Then at that time, I also had a very successful modeling career. So I had everything I wanted. It just fell into my lap. Then I got married. Then I started working for my husband, and that was a different business altogether. That was an engineering firm. So I had to learn from scratch things I had never heard of, never seen, never known, right? And it it's just that I was so interested that I learned it. And again, I was handling admin work, all the secretarial work, filing. I did the tenders. I did a lot of work there, which I loved. Again, I loved what I did, but it was completely different. Then, after my divorce, which was another 10 or 11 years later, I did not work. So, what happened was that when I was not working and I was a full time mother, I felt after a few years, Maria, you know, um, I felt kind of useless. I'm just a mother, I felt, just a mother. Now what about all that I am capable of doing? What am I doing with myself? And I felt so inadequate. I kind of lost my confidence and everything that I had built up as a young girl, because when I was associating other women, when I used to meet other women with high flying careers, and all they are doing is talking about what they did and where they went, and I'm flying here for this, I'm traveling there for that, and one is a lawyer, somebody else is a doctor. And then they turn around and what do you do? That's how I used to react. I couldn't even talk, and I would just say, well, I used to work, but and there are buts and ifs and all kinds of things. And I started to feel really just useless. And then I thought I really need to work. So before that also I told my mother, I'd like to work, I'd love to be, like a PR in a hotel or something like that. And my mother said to me, Priyanti, if you like to get all dolled up and go to work and come home to a child with psychological problems, you can do that, right? Or you can choose to stay at home and be a mother and look after this child so that he won't have psychological problems. So I chose that, right? I chose that because I thought that is more important, because I don't want my child to become a menace to society someday. It is important for me to bring up a good, decent human being and put him out there where people will thank me for putting a person like that out into society, not curse me. So, because I saw, Maria, how my mother uh, operated as a mother. Nothing on this planet was more important to her than doing her motherly duties. And never in my entire life have I ever heard her or my father say, okay, talk to me later, I'm busy now. Yeah, okay, later, come later, talk later. Never, ever. But I have said that. Sometimes I would say to my parents, I'm a bit busy, or tell my child, wait, darling, just a minute, I'm just urgent email, just a minute, and I have regretted doing that as well. So, anyway, after a few years, again, I thought when my son had a little more time in school, he would be at cricket practice endlessly. So then I thought, now I have time, so why don't I look for something that I can do from home? Because I knew doing a 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 job outside the home was not for me. I can't do that. So then I just said to a friend, if you know of something that I can do from home, let me know, because now I have time to spare. And again, there was a lull, and after about 10 years of not working, this job just again fell into my lap. I tell you, I consider myself really blessed, Maria. Now, here was another different thing. This is a yoga retreat that I'm working for, right? So I have gone from my father's business, which was supplying defense products and security products to the armed services and tenders, to an engineering firm, and now to a yoga retreat, completely different. So, what made me start working again to make that change was because of the fact that I felt like my talents were wasted. I'm just wasting my life, and it's just going. And being a mother is great. And when you have a wonderful child, it makes it even greater. But it is also important for mothers to have that self worth. If you have a talent, even if it's to bake cookies, uh, and you can make that into some, even a small business where you can earn even a few thousand rupees a week, do it, because it gives you such a sense of self-worth and confidence that you are somebody. Because I felt like I had gone from being a somebody to a nobody. Now, if someone asks me, so what is it that you do? I can proudly say what I do, because I don't feel like I'm just idling, and then people will think, just a mother, okay, housewife, mother, So,
That's awesome. I think what you just shared is really inspiring, because like it kind of shows that you can make that pivot even at that age. So
at any age,
At
Maria,
any
any age, I'm telling you, at any age. Age is just a number, Maria. People should not, women especially, should not focus on this number anymore. Because there are 70, 80-year-old women, working out in gyms and having fantastic bodies. And what is age to them then? Age is all what we make it out to be. I am so young at heart. I can get on with someone who's 5 years old, 50 years old. All my son's friends are my children, because when they come home, we are laughing and talking so much. I am just one of the boys, you know. So if you are young at heart, you will remain that way forever. And age is just a number.
Yes, of course. That's why I hang around with Priyanti.
Yeah, and look at Rochelle, so bubbly. Why? Children are keeping her that way. She must be laughing all day with these children
So true.
and pets.
Yeah.
So,
And the pets.
Pri, I know in your case it was not exactly a career shift as such, right?
Yes.
Maybe in first instance it was, right, from your father's. Yeah, that was. Uh, what would you say to people who are thinking of that career shift, like the financial side of a career shift?
So if they want a career shift, what I would say is, if they are already in a job and they don't much care for it, but yet it pays the bills, I would say never to lose that job. Stay there until you do some research as to something else that you can find. That way you are not risking anything, because money is important. So if you just chuck up that job just because you don't like it, where's the money going to come? Unless say to hell with this job and stay at home and then start looking. Also, companies will ask for 3 months notice before you leave, but they will not hesitate to put you out just like that if they don't like what you're doing, right? So if you just give a hint that you're thinking of leaving, they can ask you to leave before that 3 months is up. So best is just keep quiet and look for another job while you hang on to your financial security in the present job. But by all means, make the change if you want to, because it's never too late. Never ever is it too late.
And
There
like,
will always be something you can do at that age.
yeah, because like
Yeah,
I
you
think
were.
what you were saying, like, I think it kind of resonates because there are a lot of people, like especially the millennials, they have this whole side hustle sort of thing where, like, while they're working their usual 9 to 5, they've run their cupcake business, or and then based on the profitability, then
Yeah, yeah.
so I think that's like a good way to like figure out whether something your dream is actually like something you should pursue. Because sometimes, like, I actually was watching a podcast where they said, like, sometimes we think that our dream is going to be stress free, but our dream is also going to be like stressful, so the dream job is going to be stressful as well, so there's no job that's going to be stress free. So yeah,
You can have your dream job, Maria. People do have their dream jobs, but it is stressful. Any job would be stressful. Any job. Mine is too. I love what I do. I love my job. I love my job. I love the people I work for, but it can be very hectic
Maybe
sometimes
you
and
can
very.
tell us one of those funny anecdotes about the calls you get.
The ISPA. So
Yeah.
I work for this yoga and Ayurveda retreat, and I really don't know how and where people find that we are a spa. We are not a spa. Okay, there's an Ayurveda center in this retreat, and it's not one of those spas with happy endings. It's not one of those. It is a proper spa. I mean, it's a proper Ayurveda place. So yeah, so I used to get these calls from people asking, "Hello, where is spa ekada?" And then I asked them, "What are you looking for?" And massage එකක් දෙන්න පුළුවන්ද? ඔයා එතන ඉන්නවද? And I have had guys ask me point blank, what is the youngest age girl you have? And somebody actually asked me, do you have happy endings? And I just said, මොකද්ද? happy endings තියෙනවා. I said, මොකද? Right? And at that time, I also didn't know what this was. I actually went and asked my son. I said, somebody's calling me and asking whether we have happy endings.
Oh, no.
And I'm sure he must have known what I'm talking about. He also looked at me and said, well, what is he talking? I don't know. So one fine day, I was so sick of this, Maria. I said to one man who called, I said, ඔයා ඔය හොයන විදිහේ ස්පාස් ඒව නම් මෙතන නැහැ. ඔයා ගිහිල්ලා බලන්න වැල්ල වත්තේ, ගල් කිස්සේ පැත්තේ ඒ වගේ තැනක ඔයාට හොයාගන්න පුළුවන් ඔයාට ඕන විදිහේ ස්පා එක.
Oh my goodness.
And I hung up. And I must have blocked dozens of numbers because of it.
Oh,
That is the crazy side of this job. You get calls from weirdos, but that only happens with Sri Lankans, but otherwise it doesn't happen with foreigners who genuinely want to come to the retreat.
So as you were saying, I think if you truly enjoy your job, you'll be willing to put up with those kind of stressors, like the calls that you get.
yes. That's just nothing, compared to the overall joy I get from not just from my work, but my work goes beyond just admin work, because I have people writing to me with their personal problems, or they'll call me with their personal problems and tell me this is why we want to come for a retreat. So I have become marriage counselor, therapist, psychiatrist, psychologist, everything, and I'm running my own Sumitrayo here, I think.
Oh my gosh.
So the feedback I get makes me feel so good, because I feel like I helped so many people, even though I have never ever seen the color of them. I have built up such wonderful relationships with total strangers from around the world. And I feel good, that I'm doing a service to people in a way. Free psychology, free therapy.
And just to add a little bit about Pri, she has an amazing ability to, like she's a therapist, not that she has a qualification, but she is in 2022, I think. The Pri introduced me to one of the spas that she used to go to, and at that time I didn't know, like, I really needed it. I was grieving, and maybe on autopilot, but not really knowing how exactly to come out of it. So Pri recommended this spa, which is also not an e-spa, but a good spa. We have a mutual friend now, Kishani. She owns it, right? So she had this detox program, and I didn't realize how much I needed it, right? So that was really good. It's sad how sometimes, when you mention the word spa, Sri Lankans look at you like in a funny way, like, okay, what are you up to, kind of thing. But in places like China, it's part of, like, on their way to the airport, when I used to go with even Vidura, my husband, it was part and parcel of just to relax.
But on that topic, Rochelle, I think it is also important to stress that, we are talking about careers, but self-care is of paramount importance, without which careers also will go down the drain. Because if first we have to look after ourselves, we really must, especially mothers, they focus so much energy on looking after the husband, the home, the children, the dogs, the maids, everything. They come last.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, especially in Sri Lanka, I don't know, not especially in Sri Lanka, I think it's the Asian mentality, the traditional mentality, we tend to put ourselves last. And it's only when we kind of burn out do we realize that. And I think maybe when you come to a certain
age and sense of maturity, let's say. I think that's when you realize you have to take care of yourself first so that you can help others, no?
Yeah, I think actually, Maria, even before I realized it, it was my son years ago. Since he was a little child, he used to collect his birthday money, money that's given by everyone for his birthday, and he would take me out to dinner and pay the bill, small as he
Wow.
was. Yeah,
Yeah.
he would have been, 6, 7, 8 years old, and he would take me out on my birthday or just any other day. And one day he gave me a spa voucher and said that, because he was seeing how much I was night seeing to everything of his, that he got me this voucher. And my goodness, after indulging in that treatment, I was in heaven. And I thought, oh, I can get used to this. So at least once in a while, I would go and get something done to just relax and de-stress. Sometimes both of us used to go to the same spa that Rochelle was just now talking about, and we'd get a massage done or something. But my son and I are best friends. We are like a brother and sister. He's my best friend.
Oh, I mean, you're lucky to have somebody who's like, looking out for you and
Very,
wants the best for you.
very,
That's awesome.
very lucky.
Said,
Very.
Priyanti, I think it's that, like, the thing that kind of holds a lot of us back is this need to be perfect. Like, I need to be perfectly ready before I start that next job. Or I need to know everything about what needs to happen in that job so that I can apply. Because, like, even like, say, recently I was like looking at a couple of jobs on LinkedIn. Like, we have this sense of imposter syndrome sometimes, no? Like, oh, I don't think I'm qualified enough, or I don't know whether I can put those skills that I have into that context. So there's always a lot of self doubt, and I think that comes also from this need to be perfect, and also that comes from a place of pride sometimes. So you
Yeah.
know needing to not lose face in front of people. So that's not a great thing.
That's right. That's right. Yes, the embarrassment of making a mistake.
Mm.
That's what I'm saying. Sometimes a lot depends on the employer, how easygoing they are, or are they going to really penalize you if you make a small mistake? Some companies don't give you the opportunity to learn on the job. They expect you to come perfect. They expect you to know more than what they even require. They expect so much, and then, like you said, we look at those requirements and we think, we may not fit in, but we know we have enough skills, and if someone could just give us that little time and encouragement and some patience, to let us learn a little bit on the job, it would help. But I think because of this rat race, no one has
Mm.
time to let us learn. They expect us to come with the full package.
Sorry, that's why I think that's a good message to potential employers, because like everybody is like, just like, trying to find their next good hire, but they're not willing to give people a chance. Like sometimes, especially I think there is a gap in the market at the moment because a lot of people have moved overseas, and there are a lot of women
That's
who
right.
are like, looking to, rejoin the workforce after, so many years taking care of kids. I think employers should
That's
be looking at giving these women an opportunity to come back and, you know, put all the skills that they've learned and in previous jobs and even as mothers and, managing a household into practice. I think that is something HR in Sri Lanka should consider, right?
You're absolutely right, Maria. I totally agree. Women in their 40s who have already worked when they were in their 20s, they are very capable. They have hands on experience. Whereas a young girl can come with all the paper qualifications and not be able to do the job as well as the lady who has worked previously and who knows exactly what to do. I can even compare myself to that,
Mm.
right? I could come across a young girl, right, who does not have the skills, but maybe she'll have the looks and the personality and all the paper qualifications. But you sit them down and say, okay, type a letter. And they're just wondering what to do. I had that experience when I was working in my ex husband's company, and I used to interview girls, Maria. They come with a file so big, filled with certificates, and they're trying to show them to me, I did this course, that course, and all the school certificates, and I tell them, please don't show me any of those. Tell me, can you do this and this? That's all I need from you. So what's the point of all these paper qualifications? You need experience. Why is it that the HR managers are not thinking on those lines, and giving slightly more mature people also a chance to apply, not to say the age is from 20 to 25. Why not make it 45, 50, and let those candidates come in and say what they can do
Exactly.
and give them a chance. Maybe they don't look like beauty queens. Maybe they don't have social media pose with the bikini photos showing boobs and bumps, but they can do the job. they,
You
they
know,
will soon realize they're not going to be doing a decent job of work. Might as well give that job to a level-headed, mature lady who can handle it, right? And who won't be too busy on social media during office time, right? To post everything they ate, drank, slept, woke up, uh, and what is happening on the road, and they'll just concentrate on doing their work.
so I would like to ask Pri, what are the most valuable skills for midlife career changes today in an ever evolving job market?
Skills, IT, definitely. You must know IT skills. IT would be the most important, and I would say patience, Roshan. Patience in the workplace, uh, discipline, discipline, very important. It doesn't matter how anything has evolved. These are things one should have in order to uh, have a successful career, to be punctual, to be respectful of people's time, and as I said, patience for sure. And in the work environment, of course, you must know skills like, as I said, IT skills and communication skills, independent correspondence. Very important. You can't, nobody's going to be spoon feeding you to say, dear sir, comma, here's the heading, nobody's going to be doing that for you. You have to know independent correspondence and uh, how to communicate with people on a personal level. No, you can't type the same letter to everybody. So and also the ability to learn, to accept when someone is trying to teach you something in the workplace. You must be open. That you feel ashamed to say, I don't know how this is done. Can you show me? Can you teach me? Don't ever feel ashamed to say that. I say it all the time.
Pri, what you just said, um, you spoke about discipline, spoke about patience, and you spoke about having the right attitude towards learning, right? So those are kind of
Yes.
like values which a person should have. The funny thing is nowadays people don't add their qualities, or they don't market themselves for a job showing that they have these values. Unfortunately,
That's right.
it's all skill based. So sometimes you might be hiring a jerk who can just
Yeah,
who
yeah.
can type, who can do all these things, so it's I
That's
think
right.
it's basically there's a big change, I feel. The character that you bring to the job is sometimes, or the values that you bring to your job, it's not sometimes valued. It's just, okay, can you just do the job? We don't care how you do it. So you can be hiring like the worst sort of person sometimes.
Yes, that's right. And also, I think another thing that one should keep in mind when looking for a job, Maria, is I know people look for jobs because they want something for themselves. But a company would also like to know what you are going, how they are going to benefit from having you. You know, now how I work for my present employers is that I I behave like the place belongs to me. So I treat it with so much love, and I do everything to benefit that place, you know, more than thinking of my personal gain. Because I am working because I love to work. I love what I do. I love the place I work for. So my employers are 100% benefiting from having me, because they know they can just leave that place in my hands and know that it is in good hands. But a lot of young people, they're looking at what they can bring to that company, how they can, how that company can benefit from their presence. They're not thinking about that. They're only thinking about what they can gain. Now,
Yeah.
my son, when he talks to people in certain companies with a view to working with them, the first thing he tells them is what they are going to benefit from hiring him, what he can do for them, how he can improve their income. That's what he tells them in an interview, not about what he wants to do. Again, that's attitude. That
Yeah.
is about your attitude.
How does career success, you know, how has it differed from your 20s? You started at 16, right, Pri? So,
Yes.
love, in the during your time span, how has it changed? Like, what does it mean to you now? What was it like for you then? What is it now?
Back then, Rochelle, it meant everything to me to be successful, independent. My God, it was like, you know, the best thing ever. I was really, now I I have mellowed completely, and now I'm not thinking of anything as a success. I'm just happy to do what I do because I am so content with my life, so content with myself that uh, I'm not trying to compete with myself anymore to be the best, to be at the top, you know, to make tons of money, because I have got everything that I wanted. What I worked for in my teens and 20s, I got everything I wanted.
And you're blessed, as you said, to be able to say that.
Yes, so blessed. And because, as I said, Maria, I'm blessed to have had those parents. That is how I have come to where I am. Of course, hard work, but because my father instilled that discipline in me. When I was working for him, he said, 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. There's no father-daughter here. This is strictly work. You cannot make personal calls. No friends can call you. You can't go anywhere. Friends can't come to visit you. After 5, you can do whatever you want. Right? And he said, if you have nothing to do during office time, go and do some filing, go and read a book, sleep even, but you can't do any socializing. And I respected that. My friends respected those rules. And from morning till 5, it was strictly work. So I learned all that discipline from my parents. They were very disciplined people.
Uh, Pri, it's not that life has been a bed of roses for her. Yeah, I mean, people think, okay, she has amazing parents, of course, and wonderful career from the age of 16. So all that. But I just want to, Pri, you can maybe mention, like, Pri comes from a family of absolutely good-looking people, right? Model type good-looking. That's why everyone except her dad has been in some sort of ad campaign or some modeling, in some modeling career.
Yes.
She's not an only child. She had a brother who was also a model. So she, at the young age of 19, Pri, or 22, how old was he?
No, he was 19. Okay, so I'll tell the story.
Yeah.
So my brother was 19 when he had this accident, and then his friends took him to General Hospital, which was the only place to take an accident victim to. Unfortunately, at that time, doctors were on strike. Every place was closed, even the blood bank was closed, and there was no one to really attend to him. So some retired doctor came and fixed his broken leg, but obviously he had done something wrong and he bled through the night, then he lost blood. So just one thing led to another, and he died due to sheer negligence. And so he died about 1 month or 1.5 months before my 18th birthday. And that if you want to talk about turning points, I would start there, because he was my whole world and my idol. And he was, though he was just about an year elder to me, he was like a father to me. So I always thought, even when I used to tell myself, even when I'm 50 years old, he'll be around. One phone call, any problem, he'll be there. But when he died, it was such a shock to me to be left alone like that. With my brother's death, I learned to become like the son that my parents lost. And I became very independent. I made up my mind I'm going to be financially independent, independent in every other way. I'm not going to depend on anybody, because, especially Sri Lankan men have this habit of saying, this is my house, my money, my this, my that, so you do as I say. And I never wanted myself to be put into that situation. So, well, tragedy for all of us. And how my mother coped with that, I really don't know. But my father uh, had, I have my father's personality where he was more emotional. He would cry about it and talk about it. So years went by, and after my brother passed away, then many, many moons later, in 2022, my father passed away. And that was also quite unbearable for me, because he was my rock. And for 2 years I was grieving and grieving. Then my beloved dog dies, and Rochelle knows I shared that dog with people around the world. My beautiful Harley boy, I made him like a celebrity. He had his own Facebook page. He had such a huge fan club. Other people were also crying, though they had never ever met him. Other people were grieving. And then 1 month after Harley passed away, which was, he passed away on the 21st of December last year. 1 month later, my mother passes away. And that was an unbelievable shock, because again, she died in a similar way to my brother, which I am telling you was hospital negligence. And I am trying to now deal with that. So, one after another, in the space of 2 years, I have lost three people that I love. Harley also being a person to me, not a dog. And after crying and crying my eyes out, lungs out, heart out, I just came to this realization that, if I keep doing this to myself, I'm going to become very ill. My mental health, physical health, all will suffer. And the person who will suffer the most is my son, because he's depending on me. I have a wonderful man that is very difficult to find in today's society, because I think that breed of men are over. Rochelle, Maria, I'm very lucky to have a good, decent man like that, who will just hop on a plane and come to Sri Lanka when I have some need, or whatever, and just behave himself without, chasing after other women or doing immoral things. it's difficult to find a person like that. So even though I have a wonderful man like that in my life, and I also have a wonderful son, for me to lose my entire birth family made me feel like an orphan. I couldn't believe it. I just could not believe that I have no one, even though at the same time I do have. I have a wonderful support system, I have amazing friends, family, all that. But I felt like an orphan. But then I made a conscious effort to stop all this crying and look after myself, because I want to be alive and well in good health for as long as my parents were, so that my son has me for his security, mental security, emotional security, for as long as I had my parents. And that is a realization we must come to, regardless of what anyone tells us. Now Rochelle also has gone through her trials and tribulations. We we have to come to that realization. People can tell us time will heal, time will do this, or something else will do that, but we have to come to that realization. We have to accept this is it. It has happened. Nothing's going to change or bring them back. We need to move on, not move on in a callous, disrespectful way. What I mean is to move through that experience and keep going forward. We also have lives to lead, and we have people depending on us. So we can't be selfish and keep wallowing in that grief, and then other people will suffer because of it. Again, as women, we think of other people. That's a natural thing about women. So I sometimes think, I don't know how I have actually gone through all this: deaths, divorce, messy divorces, court cases, um, uh, ex-husbands, bullying, harassment, going to police stations. I mean, my goodness, I sometimes tell my son, my God, look at the things that we have gone through, you know, and I I think it's just I sometimes don't give myself enough credit for being this resilient, you know, this resilient, and an absolute survivor. I really need to give myself some credit for this.
I think, Pri, you're more than a survivor, you're actually a thriver, right?
Yes, I think so. Yes, a
Yeah.
thriver. Yeah, when you said that, it reminded me of something I was thinking about the last few days. And there's another way that I try to move through my traumas and dramas, is to always tell myself how fortunate I was that my father lived to be 85, my mother almost 81. When, what about families who, or children who lost their entire families and extended families in the tsunami, right? And they are the only survivors, just that one child, and all the other siblings, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, everyone gone, right? So then that makes me actually very lucky, very blessed, because I have gone through something that is natural. Okay, my parents lived long, thank God, and they went more or less naturally. My brother, okay, totally prematurely, but still, I think overall I have had a blessed life compared to a lot of other people who have gone through way more misfortunes that is even worth my talking about. I'm not trying to make my traumas and dramas small or anybody else's, because sometimes you think, another thing, Maria, there are people who have said to me, I mean, some people say, oh, they tell me those stories, right? Like to show me if I'm complaining about something, that what is your problem? There are others who are having this problem and that problem. You should never discount somebody's problem, Maria.
Yes.
Each person has some emotional baggage, some trauma to deal with, and we have no right to do about, other children are going through this and other children are going through that. It's wrong to do that. But what I'm saying is that we should tell that to ourselves. It's not nice or right for other people to say it to us, but we should tell it to ourselves that our loss compared to somebody else's, right? We can compare like that. That person's loss is greater, more tragic, but that doesn't mean that our sadness will be reduced. But just to remind ourselves that we have a lot to be thankful for.
Yes.
So
Perspective.
gratitude is something.
Gratitude.
Gratitude is something that we should have because it gives us altitude, right?
Yes, gratitude is very important, very, very important. Every day I give thanks and gratitude for everything that I have, my parents, my son, my job, Harin, Harley, everybody.
So, Pri, thank you for sharing, how you navigated, those challenges that you went through and how you like came out of them with like a resilient mindset. Coming back to the talk about careers, what advice would you give somebody, if you can give one piece of advice to somebody who is looking to reinvent themselves. Maybe they've gone through a personal tragedy, maybe they've gone through some sort of like change in their life. Um, could this, time of change, could it be something that will help them to rediscover joy again, or you know reinvent who they think, or maybe go towards that perfect idea of the dream life that they wanted to have? What sort of advice would you give somebody who's going through some sort of like a personal challenge or change in their life?
Number one is to have a very good support system, at least one good, solid person in their lives, a friend, a parent, anyone, even one solid person who can advise them correctly and put them on the right path, help them heal. First and foremost, they need to heal, because you cannot go forward into a career or anything else with all this emotional baggage. Think of going into a career having just gone through some trauma. You have to train yourself to keep that trauma at your door, and then when you go out, be professional. I actually heard this being said by a Miss Sri Lanka contestant whose father was having cancer when she was participating, and she said that she learned how to leave her sadness at her gate when she stepped out to go for rehearsals, right? Though it was killing her. I think subsequently the father passed away. So, like that, the first thing is, Maria, they have to heal from whatever they are going through. And there's, you really can reinvent yourself, you can go forward. Uh, whatever problem we are going through now, we think we are broken beyond repair. We think it's the end of the world. But believe me, I've gone through this now so many times in so many different ways with, as I said, a bullying, harassing ex-husband, right? And the problems that my son and I had were enough to drive us straight to lunacy, right? But I give complete credit to my parents, because thanks to them, we kept our sanity, right? Because they were our therapists. So, still, see how far we have come. It's been over 20 years since my divorce. See where my son is, see where I am. You know, it's all to do with having the right support. So, you need that. You need to heal yourself, go even for professional therapy if you can't handle it yourself, and then by all means look at ways to improve yourself. You know, learn something, learn anything. Maybe go and work with animals, which will give you good therapy if you are an animal lover, or go and work with children. It will teach you patience and tolerance, right? And you or go and work with old people. Again, it'll teach you patience, you know. So you can reinvent yourself. I'm telling you, it can be done, and it has been done by enough and more women. You just have to have some confidence, faith, belief. You have to, and prayers.
Thank you, Pri. That's I think very encouraging.
No, Pri has a super storytelling ability, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, she her voice messages, you could just listen to it and laugh, okay? Because she'll be telling you a story.
Honey, darling.
Two of her friends, no, two or three of her friends had told her, I think you should start a podcast, right? And she kept saying, I don't know how to do this. So I said, okay, now you just come on board with us and see how it is. And then she could start her own. Yeah.
Definitely. We wish you all the very best with your plans, and I do hope you start your podcast soon. We'll be
Yes.
happy to help in any
Thank you,
way that we
Maria.
can.
Thank you so much. I must find time now to do that as well.
Because she has so much to offer in terms of, encouragement, and her ability to share is amazing. Yeah.
Because I real any chance I get to advise someone, I'm very bad at taking my own advice, but I'm very good at giving really good advice, especially to girls. And I always say number one is you have to be financially independent. That is so important for every woman. And also to look after yourself and just learn to be content. Learn to be content. There's a limit to how much you can chase after dreams or goals. There's a limit. You can't exhaust yourself doing that. You must live life. When I was diagnosed with cancer about 5-6 years ago, my parents cried so much because they thought any moment I was going to die. I never shed even one tear because I thought, well, I've lived my life. I'm ready to go if I have to go. And I I wasn't bothered. So even at that time, I thought, and sometimes this cancer word, I don't know, maybe a few years ago, it seemed like a bad word. People didn't even want to say it. It was like saying you've got
Yeah.
HIV.
Mm.
Seriously, people didn't want to say that word. It's like a dirty word. Now every second person is having it. Again, there when people were saying, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry," but I just think, what I had was nothing compared to what other women have had. Breast cancer, having their breasts removed, wombs removed, other body parts removed. Again, it's about being positive. It's about being thankful and grateful, right? Honestly, what I had, even though it was that dreaded C word, uh, it was nothing compared to what other women have gone through. Because I've seen women go through terrible cancers. So you must have a positive attitude. You have to. You must learn to be positive. You must. Very important in anything that
You have to cultivate it, right? Doesn't
cultivate it.
come about on its
It's not, yeah, it's not easy, Rochelle, because as Dunit once said to me, when if nothing is going right for you, how can you keep being positive? At least something should go right to give you that encouragement and hope. That is also true. But I think you have to just keep going without giving up. I was going to say is that my father used to say, we all want God to answer our prayers like yesterday, but God will answer it at the right time.
Yes.
So it's just a case of you keep going, trying, and at the right time when God and the universe thinks it's your time, your prayers will be answered, whether it's your dream job or dream life or whatever, and you can have it. You can have it. Yes, Maria, please tell me what you were about to
No,
say.
so no, just to add on to what like you were saying about it's difficult to be positive when nothing seems to be going your way. So sometimes I
That's
think
right.
it's like looking at the very basic things like, okay, like sometimes, getting up and just praying about the fact that you woke up, that you have legs, that to walk, you have eyes at sea, so those are like sometimes the things we just absolutely take for granted. So we do have a lot of things to be thankful for, but we just forget that we have them. Yeah.
Because we take it for granted. We take it for granted until suddenly something happens, we can't talk or we can't walk. Like after my surgery, I couldn't even talk. I had to whisper, you know, and then you value the fact that you can talk, you know. And then, when I twisted my ankle and I had to use the wheelchair that my father was using, right, I realized how sad it was, how frustrated he must have been when he had to be pushed around in that wheelchair, and I never understood his frustration. you know he was in a bad mood, I was in a bad mood, because I didn't understand. So until something happens to us, we will never understand how somebody else feels. So you have to be very careful about things like that.
Fact that because like I didn't know that you had this struggle with cancer as well. So you seem to have really like, faced the whole gamut of trials.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So amazing that
And
you've
here
come
I
out
am.
with this positive attitude.
Yeah, I really believe in being positive and filled with gratitude, thanks and gratitude for lots of things in my life. So thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure and privilege to talk to you two beautiful girls.
It was
It
like
was so
it
nice.
was amazing to like, to see your spirit and to see like, how things can be exciting for us in the future as well. And like we need to be continuing on with, trying to reinvent ourselves and
Yes.
trying new things.
So,
Yeah.
Maria, when I used to watch Six and the City, I used to look at Samantha Jones, and I used to be like, I want to be like Samantha Jones when I'm 50. Now I'm like, I want to be like me when I'm that age.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Jeez.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. Amazing.
I think
So,
much better than Samantha.
of course, real, authentic role model.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pri.
Thank you so much for
Thank-
coming on board and sharing these thoughts with us.
Oh, it was my absolute pleasure.